This is the making time for your health. The first step is that you need to get clear on your why you might be here, because the motivation that we have behind any action that we take is absolutely critical. There are some motivations that serve us long-term, and there are other motivations that don't. So you need to get clarity on immediate benefits and on long-term benefits. So when you're doing your journaling, like what would be different today, and then what would be different long-term? One of the things I absolutely love about when I started to really delve into mindset stuff in addition to body stuff is that the mind and the body, they aren't separate. They are so interconnected, and we can learn so much about our mind from our body and so much about our body from our mind. Let's talk about step 2, is the goal itself, the actual, like what you're intending to do, the self-care steps you're intending to take. Your goal needs to have 2 things. It needs to be reasonable, and it needs to be layered. You're thinking reasonable and layered goals. What does that mean? Reasonable goals are mini goals where you ask, what are you doing today, right now, and what would your ultimate goal be? So people often come to me, I want to practice an hour of yoga a couple times a week, or I want to exercise for 30 minutes a day. And I say, okay, great. What are you doing right now? What's your plan? What's your exercise routine? What's your yoga routine look like right now? And when they say, well, I'm not doing anything yet, I always dial it back, because if you think about every self-care practice you started that didn't work or that you fell off the wagon, how did you try to go from 0 to 60? You need to go from 0, you need to slowly increase to 10 and then to 20 and then to 30. So if you're thinking, I think my life would be drastically different, I would speak, act, and talk differently and think differently if I did an hour of yoga a couple times a week, or if I meditated, or if I did prayer, if I did morning Bible time, whatever thing you're thinking of, for this number of minutes every day, start with a fraction of that. What are you doing today? Where do you want to be? What's the one step you can take toward that? I have an intention for this that I use, a little mantra. It's called move in the direction of. So if you want to say, I want to get up to an hour of yoga a couple times a week, move in the direction of that goal, but don't go right to that goal. What's the one step you can take toward that thing? Because here's the basic fact of life. You are either moving toward your goals or away from them every single day. Every day, you're either moving toward your highest priorities or you're moving away from them. You aren't just staying exactly the same. So you don't have to get all the way there. You just have to move in the direction of them. So simple, but so powerful. Okay, that's reasonable. Now let's talk about what layered means. I said you have to set a reasonable and a layered goal. Layered means actually layered into your day. I like to say woven into the fabric of your day, because this is what most people do. They have a self-care bucket. When you think about what your self-care plan will be, you say, okay, I'm going to carve out this time for self-care, and I'm going to do everything I can to make it happen in that amount of time. But then the kids are sick, or you're hit traffic on the way home from work, or whatever thing happens that makes you not be able to get to that bucket, and it doesn't happen. So your goal needs to be reasonable and layered, where you can weave it in. So how do you do this? First of all, the first step is mindfulness. What if you said, okay, every time, let's be real, you probably check your email or Facebook a couple times a day, right? What if you connected this and you said, every single time I open Facebook or every single time I open my email, I'm going to rant my head. It doesn't take a single extra second, right? It doesn't take more time. It's just more mindfulness. It's just choosing, I'm going to do this little thing while I do something else. Here is the granddaddy of all steps. When I told you that people fall off and some people got results and some people didn't, the primary difference between the people who can implement a good system and the people who struggle is mindset. If you've tried a self-care practice before and struggled, then this is your goal. Forget making the goal of doing an hour of yoga every week or whatever. Like, forget that. This is where I want you to start. I want you to say, okay, I'm going to work on my mindset. You know you need to work on your mindset if you have any of these limiting thoughts. This is not enough. I'm not doing enough. This one is like the one. People say, for example, I have access, I have a gym membership, but if I just go 2 times a week, if I just go once a week, it's not enough. Or they have access to hundreds of classes. Oh, if I don't do all of those classes, I'm not doing enough. This thought, this is not enough, I'm not doing enough, it will derail you every single time. Another one, if I can't do it perfectly, I'm not going to do it at all. You might not get to like that perfect place you're thinking, but who cares? You get the benefit from the journey along the way, not from the end result. Banish this limiting thought. This one, I've tried it before. I always fail. Nothing ever works for me. I've tried this thought, banish it. I call them thought weeds. We're going to pluck these thought weeds out, and I'm going to help you plant some better seeds in a moment. This one, that change is hard, that new habits are hard, that beginnings are hard. This belief that if I'm going to do this, it's going to be hard. I'm going to have so much to overcome in order to do it. It sets you up to experience it as difficult. I'm going to share with you some powerful seeds that you can plant. I'm willing to do something that I might fail at. Say this to yourself every single day. I'm willing to do something that I might fail at. It's helpful if you actually believe it. So when I give these thoughts, I always try to think of what's something that you thought you were going to accomplish one specific goal, but it didn't happen and you got some other benefit from just the process of trying. Give yourself the evidence that this is true, that you are willing to do something that you might fail at. This one has changed my entire life. Small hinges swing big doors. This is such a powerful one because it's very visual and your mind knows immediately that it's true. When I go to places where I see a big, huge door, like there's a gymnastics class that one of my kids goes to, they have this huge door on the way in. Every time on the way in, I look at the tiny little hinge that's swinging the big doors on the way in there. Find the small hinges. Think about, do you have a big gate in your yard? Look at the tiny hinge that's there and really believe that it is the small actions that you take that give big change to your life. So powerful. I love this quote from Scott Hamilton. He said, I calculated once how many times I fell during my skating career, 41,600 times, he said. But here's the funny thing. I got up 41,600 times. That is the muscle you have to build in your psyche, the one that reminds you to just get up. Guys, these are seeds that plant, that build you the get up muscles in your mind. Step 4, you have to find mentors, heroes, teachers, guides, and a community that you can look to. Because there is nothing that will help you overpower doubt like proof in the form of another person. Another really great mantra is when you think about your mentor, your coach, someone who you're looking to as an example, you say, if she can do it, I can do it. And you keep that image in your mind. So often we say we're different from this person, or I have some obstacle that they don't have. Banish that. If she can do it, I can do it. Find someone who you really relate to their circumstances and to how they overcame it, and use them as your mental proof that it can happen. So what I always look for in a guide is I look for someone who's been down the path that I'm going down, who knows the strengths and struggles that are common along that path, and just that you find inspiring, that resonates with you. I love this quote from Sean Hitchcock. He says, a mentor empowers a person to see a possible future and believe it can be obtained. This is the mindset, guys. We have to see it and believe that it's possible. You can say those powerful thoughts I gave you over and over, but if you don't believe them, it's not going to make a difference. You have to have the evidence. You have to know in your knower that it is possible and that you can move toward it. When you guys have the right system, when you put all of this together, it isn't hard. Change isn't as hard as we think. It takes surprisingly little effort, little steps to make huge changes. All of your little steps, they just add up, and slowly, one day you look around, oh my gosh, I have this whole new lifestyle and I don't even know how I got here. Like it just happened so seamlessly, these tiny little steps. Okay. So you guys can create your life and your health. You have this system now. You have more power than you realize.